when some days don't start badly. Nothing goes wrong in the morning. There is no bad news, no clear disappointment, and still something feels heavy. You wake up and your body knows it before your mind does. Your chest feels full. Your thoughts move slower. Your energy feels lower than it should. You try to understand it. You scan your life. You look for a reason. But nothing explains the weight you're carrying. This kind of heaviness is unsettling. Because we are taught that feelings must make sense, that sadness needs a cause, that tiredness must be justified. But some seasons don't give reasons. They give weight. Not sudden weight, but accumulated weight. From being strong too long, from holding things together quietly, your debts, from not stopping because life didn't allow it. So when the heaviness finally shows up, it feels confusing. And you start asking, what's wrong with me? But maybe nothing is wrong. Maybe something inside you is finally asking to be felt. God is not distant on days like this. He does not wait for clarity to offer presence. He is near, even when the heaviness has no name. For some days, your faith is still there. You haven't stopped believing. You haven't turned away from God. But your emotions feel disconnected from what you believe. You know the words. You know the promises. You know what you would say to someone else. But inside, you don't feel hopeful. And that can feel unsettling. Because we often think that faith should feel like confidence, bimo, like peace, like strength, like certainty. But faith doesn't always move at the same speed as emotion. Sometimes faith stays while feelings lag behind. And that doesn't mean your faith is weak. It means it's quieter, more internal, less expressive. Hope, in seasons like this, is not loud. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't rush in to make things feel better. Hope can be very small. Very simple. Sometimes hope looks like getting out of bed, even when you don't feel motivated. Sometimes it looks like saying, God, I don't feel okay today, but I still trust you. That sentence alone is an act of faith. You don't need to feel inspired to have hope. You don't need emotional certainty to trust God. Hope does not depend on how uplifted you feel. It depends on where you turn when you feel low. Many people carry a quiet fear in seasons like this. The fear that, if I don't feel it, maybe I'm losing my faith. But faith is not measured by emotional intensity. It's measured by direction. Meaning, where do you go when your heart feels heavy? Who do you talk to when your emotions fall silent? If you still turn toward God, even without words, even without feeling much, that is faith. God does not require your emotions to be aligned before He draws near. He is not disappointed by your emotional quietness. He is present in it. Some seasons teach us that faith is not always felt. It is chosen. We are chosen again and again, even on days that feel heavy for no clear reason. When days feel heavy, many people don't just feel tired. They feel guilty. Guilty for not feeling okay. Guilty for not being grateful enough. Guilty for not having a clear reason to feel the way they do. The heaviness comes, and then the judgment follows. You start talking to yourself in ways you would never talk to someone you love. What's wrong with me? I should be better than this. Other people have it worse. I shouldn't feel this way. And slowly, the heavy day becomes heavier. Not because of what you feel, but because of how you treat yourself for feeling it. But feelings don't ask permission. They don't check your circumstances. They don't wait until life is calm. They simply arrive. St. And when they do, they are not asking to be judged. They are asking to be acknowledged. You don't have to justify your pain for it to be real. You don't have to compare your struggle to someone else's for it to matter. Pain is not a competition. And heaviness is not a moral failure. There is nothing sinful about feeling tired. There is nothing wrong with having days when your emotions feel low. Jesus never treated human weakness as something to shame. He met people where they were. Exhausted, confused, overwhelmed. And he did not ask them to explain themselves first. Some days, the most faithful thing you can do is stop fighting how you feel. Not by giving up, but by softening. By saying, okay, today feels heavy. No excuses. No defense. No self-attack. Just truth. God does not require you to be emotionally strong to stay close to Him. He does not pull away when you feel low. He does not wait until you are put together again. He is near, even when you are tired of yourself. Allowing yourself to feel without judging is not weakness. It is honesty. And honesty creates space for healing to begin slowly. Not all at once. Not dramatically, but gently. There are moments when your body understands something your mind hasn't caught up to yet. You wake up tired even after sleeping. Your shoulders feel tight. Your chest feels heavy. Your breath feels shallow. And your mind starts asking, what's wrong with me? But your body is not malfunctioning. It is communicating. The body carries memory. Not just physical memory, but emotional memory. Stress that stayed too long. Pressure that never had release. Moments you pushed through because stopping wasn't an option. The body keeps score of what the mind postpones. So when the weight shows up physically, it's not weakness. It's information. But many of us were taught to ignore our bodies, to override fatigue, to silence discomfort, or to keep going at all costs, especially people of faith. We were often told that listening to the body meant giving in, that slowing down meant lack of faith. But God did not design your body to betray you. He designed it to protect you, to signal when something needs attention. Ignoring the body does not make you more spiritual. It often makes you more exhausted. Respecting your body is not separating yourself from God. It can be an act of reverence, because your body is part of how you live, pray, and remain present. Some days respecting your body looks very simple. Slowing your pace. Taking deeper breaths. Letting yourself sit instead of pushing forward. Asking gently, what do I need right now? Not to fix everything. Not to solve your life. Just to care. God meets you in your full humanity. Not just your thoughts. Not just your prayers. But your breath, your tiredness, your limits. When the body feels heavy, it may be inviting you to live more gently. Not less faithfully, but more honestly. When days feel heavy without explanation, rest can feel uncomfortable. Not because you don't need it, but because you feel like you haven't earned it. You look at your life and tell yourself, nothing terrible happened. So why do I feel this tired? And that question turns rest into something you argue with. You try to push through. You try to stay productive. You try to prove to yourself or to others that you're still functioning. But rest was never meant to be a reward for suffering. It was meant to be a response to need. Mao. You do not need a dramatic reason to slow down. You do not need permission to pause. Some days, rest is not about recovery. It is about prevention. About listening early instead of collapsing later. Guilt often shows up when rest feels unfamiliar. Especially if you've learned to survive by staying strong. By staying useful. By staying available. But strength that never rests eventually breaks. Horbania. God does not ask you to ignore your limits to prove your faith. He designed limits as part of your humanity. Rest is not stepping away from God. It can be stepping toward Him. Especially when rest looks like honesty instead of performance. You are allowed to let today be lighter than you planned. You are allowed to do less without explaining why. You are allowed to stop before you are empty. Rest without guilt creates space. Space for your body to settle. Space for your thoughts to slow. Space for God's presence to feel gentle instead of distant. Healing does not always begin with understanding. Sometimes it begins with permission. Permission to rest even when the reason isn't clear. God is not measuring how productive you are today. He is present with you as you are. Shil. And sometimes, the most faithful thing you can do is stop trying to hold everything together and simply rest. Some days don't end with relief. You don't reach the evening feeling lighter. You don't look back and think, at least it got better. Instead, the weight follows you to the end of the day. That can feel discouraging. Because we often expect hope to feel like improvement. Like progress. Or like a clear shift. But hope does not always change how the day feels. Sometimes hope simply means the day did not defeat you. You are still here. Still breathing. Still open. Still willing to trust God quietly. Hope at the end of a heavy day often looks very small. It looks like going to bed without answers. It looks like letting tomorrow remain unknown. It looks like saying, God, I don't understand today, but I place it in your hands. You don't need to end the day feeling strong. You don't need a breakthrough moment before sleeping. Some days, the most faithful thing you can do is stop trying to make sense of everything and allow yourself to rest inside uncertainty. God does not leave when the day feels unfinished. He does not step away when prayers feel incomplete. Why, He stays, quietly, faithfully, holding the parts of the day you could not resolve. Hope is not always about tomorrow being better. Sometimes it is about trusting that tomorrow is held by God, even if it feels uncertain. You are not failing because today ended heavy. You are learning how to trust without needing results. And that kind of trust is deep, quiet, and strong in ways you may not see yet. When a day feels heavy, it's easy to start drawing conclusions. Not just about the day, but about yourself. You begin to wonder if this heaviness says something permanent about who you are, about your faith, about your strength, about your future. But a heavy day is not a definition. It is a moment, a snapshot, not the full picture. Bor, you are more than how today feels. More than your energy level. More than your emotional state. Some days are heavy not because you are weak, but because you are human. And humans carry seasons, cycles, highs and lows that come and go. A single day does not erase your growth. It does not undo what God has been building in you. It does not cancel your calling, your progress, or your future. Castio. Sometimes heaviness shows up right before change. Sometimes it appears in the middle of growth. Sometimes it's simply part of living deeply. You are not moving backward because today feels hard. You are still moving forward, even slowly, even quietly. God does not define you by your hardest moments. He sees the whole story. He sees what you are becoming, not just what you feel today. You don't need to label yourself based on one heavy day. You don't need to decide your future based on how this moment feels. Let today be what it is, a day, not a verdict, not a sentence, not a prophecy over your life. Your future is not fragile because today feels heavy. It is held, and so are you. There are seasons when seeking God feels ordinary. For no strong emotions, no clear sense of closeness, no sudden peace washing over you. You pray, but it feels simple. You read scripture, but nothing seems to stand out. You sit in silence, and nothing dramatic happens. And quietly, a question forms. Is this doing anything? We often associate God's presence with intensity, with strong feelings, with moments that move us deeply. But God is not limited to emotional experiences. He is just as present in the ordinary, just as close in quiet routines. Faith is not only built in moments of clarity, it is also built in consistency, in showing up even when nothing seems to happen. Seeking God without feeling anything is not empty faith. It is steady faith. Faith that does not depend on emotional reward. Duro. Some of the deepest trust is formed in these seasons. Not because you feel close, but because you choose to remain. God does not measure your devotion by how moved you feel. He values your presence, your willingness, your quiet attention. You are not wasting time when prayer feels plain. You are not failing when worship feels muted. You are practicing faith without relying on emotion. Yeah? And that kind of faith has depth. It endures. It stays rooted even when feelings change. God is not absent because you feel nothing special. He is present in the simple act of seeking. And sometimes, the most meaningful moments with God feel almost unremarkable at the time. Some days don't turn around. You wait for a shift, and it doesn't come. You hope the heaviness will lift, and it stays. Gideon. By the end of the day, nothing feels resolved. And that can quietly shake your trust. Because we often expect trust in God to come after improvement. after clarity, after answers. But sometimes trust is asked of us before anything changes. Trust does not always mean believing tomorrow will feel better. Sometimes it means believing tomorrow is still held, even if it feels uncertain. Foi. You are allowed to hope without evidence. You are allowed to trust without guarantees. Faith is not pretending that today is fine. It is choosing not to close your heart just because today is heavy. God is not waiting for the heaviness to disappear before He walks with you. He walks with you through it. Some tomorrows are not brighter. They are simply new. And sometimes that is enough. Cheat. Trust grows quietly when you keep showing up even without relief. Even without signs. Even without answers. You are not weak for needing time. You are human. And God is patient with human processes. Trusting tomorrow does not mean forcing optimism. It means leaving the door open. Letting God meet you in the unknown. Even when today did not improve. Some days don't finish cleanly. So, there is no clear ending. No sense of closure. No feeling of completion. You go to bed with loose thoughts, unanswered questions, emotions still open. And that can feel uncomfortable. Because many of us were taught that unfinished things are dangerous, that we should always resolve, always understand, always fix. But not every day is meant to be finished. Ikil. Some days are meant to be carried over. To rest unfinished in God's care. You are allowed to let a day end without answers, without clarity, without improvement. Leaving things open is not failure. It is trust. Trust that you do not have to hold everything together by yourself. God is not anxious about your unfinished day. He is not overwhelmed by your unanswered questions. He can hold what you cannot close. Some peace comes not from resolution, but from release. Releasing the need to understand everything before resting. Releasing the pressure to feel better before sleeping. You don't need to bring a finished version of yourself to God. You can bring the open, unfinished one. And rest anyway. There are seasons when faith does not feel emotional. No warmth in the chest, no. No surge of peace. No strong sense of closeness. Just quiet. And silence can feel unsettling when you expect faith to feel alive. We often confuse quiet faith with absent faith. But they are not the same. Faith does not disappear just because feelings grow still. Sometimes faith grows deeper when it grows quieter. Like roots underground. Unseen. Not impressive. But steady. So, loud faith is easy to notice. Quiet faith is easy to overlook. But God sees both. He does not measure your faith by how expressive it feels. He measures it by your willingness to remain. To stay open. To keep turning toward Him even without emotional feedback. Some of the strongest faith you will ever carry will feel almost invisible to you. Because it's not fueled by emotion. It's fueled by trust. Trust that does not rush. Trust that does not demand reassurance. Trust that rests even when nothing is felt. God is not disappointed by your quietness. He is close in it. Faith that remains in silence is not weak faith. It is settled faith. And settled faith can carry you through seasons where feelings cannot. There are days that don't stand out. Fair. Nothing dramatic happens. Nothing clearly improves. Nothing clearly falls apart. They are just ordinary. And when those days feel heavy, it can be easy to assume that God is distant. Because we often expect God's presence to feel noticeable, marked by clarity, marked by emotion, marked by change. But God is not limited to moments that feel meaningful. He is present in the quiet routines, in the repeated days, in the moments that feel uneventful and slow. Some of the most faithful days are the ones that feel the least spiritual. You wake up. You do what needs to be done. You carry what you can. And you rest when you need to. There is nothing small about that. God does not measure closeness by intensity. He measures it by nearness. And He is near even when the day feels plain, even when the heaviness has no clear meaning, even when nothing seems to shift. You are not missing God because today feels ordinary. You are meeting Him where life actually happens. God often works quietly, not to avoid notice, but to avoid pressure. He does not demand that every day feel important. He simply walks with you through them. Awesome. And sometimes, that steady presence is what holds you when nothing else does. Unclear seasons often invite harshness. Not from the outside, but from within. When nothing makes sense, many people respond by becoming stricter with themselves. They push harder. They expect more. They demand clarity before it is ready to appear. But unclear seasons are not asking for pressure. They are asking for gentleness. Gentleness does not mean passivity. It means moving at a pace that honors your limits. It means choosing care over control. Some days, living gently looks very simple. Lowering expectations. Speaking kindly to yourself. Allowing rest without explanation. You do not need to solve the season to live faithfully in it. You do not need clarity to walk with God. You only need willingness to stay open. God does not rush you through uncertainty. He walks slowly with you in it. Living gently creates space for trust to grow. Not forced trust. Not rushed trust. But steady trust. Unclear seasons do not last forever. But how you treat yourself during them will shape how you emerge. Gentleness is not weakness. It is wisdom in times when force would only harm. When days feel heavy for no clear reason, the natural instinct is to close in, to pull back, to protect yourself by feeling less. Because staying open can feel risky when you don't understand what's happening inside you. So many people respond to heaviness by becoming smaller. They talk less. They feel less. They expect less, hoping that numbness will hurt less than uncertainty. But closing yourself off does not actually remove the weight. It only buries it deeper. Staying open does not mean forcing positivity. It does not mean explaining your pain. It simply means not abandoning yourself when things feel unclear. Staying open might look like allowing a feeling to pass without trying to label it. It might look like continuing to pray even when prayer feels quiet. It might look like letting God see you without editing yourself. God does not ask you to harden yourself to survive a season. He invites you to remain soft and supported. Open hearts are not fragile hearts. They are resilient hearts. Because they allow life to move through them instead of getting stuck. You do not need to rush to feel better. You only need to stay present. God can work with openness. Few, even quiet openness. Even tired openness. And sometimes, that is where healing begins to unfold, slowly, gently, without force. As this moment comes to a close, nothing needs to be resolved. You don't need to feel better right now. You don't need clarity. You don't need answers. If today felt heavy, that doesn't mean you failed. It means you lived, and you carried what you could. Malmiskes. God is not asking you to understand everything. He is simply present with you in this moment. Nothing you felt today pushed him away. Nothing you didn't feel disappointed him. You are still held, still seen, still cared for. If you need to sit quietly after this video ends, that's okay. If you need to rest, that's okay. If you don't have words for prayer, that's okay too. Diof. God understands silence, and He remains. If this space has helped you, you're welcome to stay connected. You're welcome here. And whenever days feel heavy for no clear reason, remember, you don't have to carry them alone. Rest for the soul is always here as a place to breathe. Take the rest you need. You are held.